What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. We're going to be doing the full review of the Ketuo Griffin. Let's get into it. All right, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing some size comparisons. We're going to be weighing the knife, and then jumping into my thoughts and impressions of the Ketuo Griffin. So let's kick it off with a couple of budget knives. Here it is against the Devo Knives Growler version 2. And here it is against the Civivi Vision FG. So you can see this is a full-size knife. Very nice. Let's go ahead and take a look against the Spyderco Para 3. We will move the Vision out of the way, and we're going to bring out the Spyderco Shaman, which is going to be another comparison to a full-size knife. So this is definitely a larger knife, not one that is on the smaller end. Let's go ahead and do some profile comparisons. We're going to take it against the Spyderco Shaman here. And you can see they're pretty comparable. I would say they're pretty close to even. And then if you have an FG, here it is against the Civivi variant of it. And you can see the Vision is a lot thinner than the Ketuo. I apologize, I got cables everywhere here. Let's bring the scale out. I believe this one's coming in at around 5 ounces, if I recall correctly. Coming in at 4.7. Let me just redo that because it kind of fell over there. Yeah, 4.7 ounces. Nice. Before we jump into the review, this is listed on White Mountain Knives. Let me check really quick. It says Ketuo USA Griffin button lock knife. I don't know if this is a USA made button lock or if this is just that Griffin is a USA company. So my editor may have to do a little bit of clarification in that regard. But on White Mountain Knives, it's listed as $250. That would be pretty impressive if this was a titanium folder, or if this is a titanium folder with M390 blade steel coming in at $250. So I think it's just Griffin USA is the company, and I have a feeling this is probably an overseas made knife. My editor will put it up on the screen if that's correct or not. Let's go ahead and jump into thoughts and impressions. So you have a really well done, and I apologize, I think my fingerprints are just all over this, and we'll get into that in a little bit as to why. But it is a titanium button lock folder. You have carbon fiber inlays here towards the rear, and then you have some scalloping here in the handle to give it a unique look. You got micro milling down here. It is got a filler tab for the reversible titanium pocket clip, and it has what I would just call a flathead bolt system here for the disassembly. You got a semi-floating backspacer here, really cool with the lanyard and jimping out here in the back. As far as the ergos go, you can get all 4 fingers on the back of the knife, and then you have a nice little jimp space here if you wanted to choke back for any potential heavy detailed work where you're kind of needing to muscle through it, but you don't want to be right up on the blade. But if you did need to move up on the blade, I have found like if you come in up to just past the first knuckle, you can get in here pretty good and have just a little bit of room there behind the blade. Quite comfortable in this position. I would not go all the way past the second knuckle for myself because it puts you right behind that blade's edge. So this is more of like a good choke up point that is very comfortable. You have a nice spoon here, and that's going to be good for more controlled detailed work. Pinch grip works on it as well. Even with the larger hands, I'm able to kind of use this cutout here and then just get into that pinch grip, and then not too bad raising the arm up to get the detailed work. So once you've gotten into the edge of the package here, you can just flip on over and then just do your draw cut there to get down the center of the package. Not bad at all. The geometry feels good on here. The cutting edge, that was the only thing I didn't check after the unboxing. So let me grab a sheet of paper and let's just see where the edge is at. This has been in pass around. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Yeah, not too bad. So really good edge. I don't believe I stropped this. I believe I only tested it on a little bit of cardboard and the geometry was fine. I did feel like it wasn't super thick. I was able to get through the cardboard just fine, pushing through, but I was out on the tip because I was holding it in this position just to test it. I didn't really come back to the middle where it's a little bit thicker. I didn't want it to get really close to that forge choil. I was afraid I'd slip into that. Edge termination because of that forge choil is really good. The sorry, the fuller opening hole works well. It's not too bad. Doesn't feel sharp. I'm able to get the tip of the finger there just fine. This actually has really good jimping on the flipper tab and the front flipper. You're able to get a lot of grip on there, and then it's nice and contoured and pronounced, so you're really able to get onto the flipper tab and just let it rip, and it's really good. One thing I do want to talk about briefly while we're here, this button lock system is a little underwhelming. However, in the unboxing, I mentioned it didn't have any sort of detent, even though it's not really a detent. And I reached out to Kevin and I kind of let him know like something didn't seem right. I wanted to ask him what his experience was. He had indicated that it was fairly light. If anyone has an Echo, the Echo button lock has a good detent on it, but it is not stout in any way, shape, or form. So like if you look at the Echo or you look at the Pyrite and you compare it to like what Civivi's doing, Civivis have more stout of a detent, or even what you saw on the Good Boy from Best Tech Man, really stout detent in comparison. The Echo was a little bit on the lighter end. This, I would say, is even lighter than that. Very easy to fail. You kind of have to make sure that you're ripping it. It's very, very light. You can see just it flies out very easily. The spring, when I actually reached out to Kevin and he told me to disassemble it, see if I could stretch it, clean it, make sure there wasn't any oil or anything on the lockup causing it to slip, the spring was actually broken. So in the unboxing, when you see like I could just sit here all day and do this, and that was with me actually trying to flip it because it had no detent. That spring was broken. I had to take one of my existing springs because it's a cone-shaped spring, and I just have the circular springs, and I had to kind of make it fit. So I took a couple of the springs, the coils out of the spring to get this to work, to get through the review. In the meanwhile, while I was doing that, because I did want to review the entire knife, Kevin reached out to Griffin and gave him my information, and they're actually sending a replacement spring that is intended for the build of this knife to me. So I will go ahead and do that, and then I'll do a follow-up video with that as well. As far as the disassembly, everything was taken apart from the top flathead here. You can kind of sort of get the flathead here, but this is the captive section, so this screw backs out and then the Chicago piece goes through with the pivot, so it kind of goes all the way through. It has a internal stop pin, or I'm sorry, not a stop pin. It has an external stop pin, but the button lock here acts as the other stop pin here when you close it. So it hits on the button lock there. That is all that is stopping it. It is not making contact with the stop pin for the open position. In the open position, the stop pin here is what is actually causing locking up with the knife. So the button comes out into a small piece here, and then you have that stop pin there. So that's your construction there. I don't want to spine whack test this because it doesn't have the correct spring in it. Once the other spring comes in, what I'll do with that update is I will just kind of tell you what the differences are. But I was able to get it clean, locked up solid. It has like a little click up and down, but it's not a lot of play. It feels pretty solid as far as the up and down is concerned. I wish the detent was a little bit stronger. I'm gonna, when I take it apart and put it back together, I'm just gonna check. I was scared to continue to try to tighten down on this because the screwdriver I had was a little small, and it feels really tight, but there's a little bit of play here. I wonder if I can get that to show up. and I don't know what that is. So I'm just waiting for the replacement spring to come in to take it back apart and do it. But overall, it was just a little underwhelming. I wish the operation of the button lock was a little bit smoother. I don't know, and I can't remember if Kevin said that this may have been the prototype and then the one that you see on White Mountain Knife. And I think on Griffin's website might be the final product. So we'll see. When the button comes in, I'll take it apart. We'll check the tolerances here. It's a little loose, even though it's completely tightened down. And then the button lock D10, a little underwhelming. Again, you know, I would have liked it to have been a little bit better. For $250 though, M390 titanium is a good offering. You can get a couple of Migarons, the Kyrix 2, I can't remember, I think it's the Pagos 2. Those are like $200 M390 titanium frame lock knives. So if you're turned off by the button lock, I would say the Kyrix is probably the better of the two because I like the blade shape, because you still have a little bit of a tip for your poking, puncturing task, and then you have a lot of blade edge there for your power cuts. I like that. If you like the drop point, then the Pagos, I want to say the Pagos 2 is a straight back. You can let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But for $250, you can get a USA-made Shaman with an excellent heat treat steel, and you can get the compression lock. If you're right-handed, that's going to be a really good option, because this is going to be an excellent work knife. It's going to have good cutting geometry. The compression lock is very secure. The ergos on this are excellent. And I just, you know, I like this USA made company. They do a variety of steels. Even if you're getting their S30V, they heat treat it so well that it's going to perform extremely well. If you get some soft M390, it will hold an edge, but you may not notice as much of a difference from Spyderco's S30V versus a 59 HRC heat-treated M390 as far as the edge retention is going to go. But they do some exciting steels. I've had a couple of M4. This one here is my first XHP steel, and I'm really happy with it. It reminds me of like D2 edge retention, but it is corrosive resistant. It does well with a toothy edge. That's the best way that I can kind of think of how to describe it. If you don't like the Spydercos because they come with G10, again, I would say the Kyrix, or I would say look at Migaron. Migaron has some really exciting knives starting at $199 going all the way to $300. And they're doing Vanex. They're doing very unique styles. I know that they're getting ready to sunset their current rotation of knives that are out there in the catalog for some newer things, but they still, I think, have some coming in. But they're saying like once these sell out, they're gone. And they, you know, they have some. I really like the S-Tau. The Django and the Padre are some of my favorites to them, but they got a plethora of really good knives, and they use crossbar locks on some of their knives, which I like as well, because it's solid lockup, finger out of the blade path. I haven't had any of their Omega springs. I think they use steel springs. I haven't had any break, knock on wood. It can happen, but they're fairly cheap and easy to replace. Well, I will say Kungwoo's construction of assembly and disassembly is actually a little overly complicated because they have full steel liners with the titanium on top, and I think they should just do washers with them. But anyway, getting off point, this is a very unique style. I think there's some opportunities that they could do to kind of improve the build on this, but for the money, it's not bad. If the button lock was a little bit better on the model or on production, or if it is better when I get the replacement spring, I will do a follow-up on this one. But this one here just wasn't as impressive as some of the other knives that I've encountered in that $200 to $300 price point. Especially, like I said, Migaron really and Kungwoo have really hit the marker on those. And then, you know, I don't mention them enough, but for that $200 to $300 range, you can get a lot of knives that are done well with 20 CV. That's done well. It's not the best, but they're not bad. You can get those for $250. I think people overlook the fact that is coming in at the same price as this for some of their knives. Now they do have a couple that are over $300 now, but they're larger knives, they're button locks, they're with designers. So that does influence the price a little bit, but just keep those in mind when you're thinking about this, because we recently has come out with some really cool designs, and I like that they're pushing the envelope a little bit more. Let me know what you thought about the Ketuo Griffin down in the comments below. Do you like this design? Don't you? Do you have one? Do you have any experience with them? And if I missed anything that you have questions about, leave them below and I'll make sure and answer them. Shout out to everyone out there that leaves the likes, that comments, and is subscribed and watching videos. I appreciate all the love and support, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.